Tick tack, it's my clock telling me I should get up.
Hi, and welcome to The Conscious Loop, where woo-woo and the real world collide. I'm your host, Katrina DeAngelis. Join me as we explore what it looks like to live consciously almost always. Each episode, we dive into transforming mindsets and shifting paradigms through topics such as developing self-awareness, living authentically, communication, strengthening relationships, and leading from the inside out. If you're ready to break out of your unconscious loops and discover what else is possible, you came to the right place. My mission here is to share actionable solutions to real-world problems and to support you in expanding your consciousness as you evolve into the next iteration of you. Through personal insights, practical tips, and the occasional guest expert, we will journey together on this wild ride called life. The experience will be shared, but the ahas will be all yours. You ready? Let's dive in. All right, so hello and welcome. I'm so excited to have you here. If you're listening or if you're watching, wherever in the world you are, today is going to be slightly different. We're going to do a bit of a guided experience. So I'm going to bring you through some content that I would typically walk through in a workshop with leaders about moving from problems to opportunities and really evolving your leadership mindset in an ever-changing world. Because let's face it, if there's one thing that's consistent, it is change. And so being adaptable and really being agile is going to serve us in all areas of our life. And most importantly, what's going to help us with that is developing an opportunity mindset, a growth mindset, and really being able to frame our world through that lens. And so I'll bring you through some tips today and just how we can really bring awareness to some of the mindsets that we do hold that may have served us in the past, but are no longer serving us right now. So our journey today, we're going to go from moving from a fixed mindset to a growth and empowered one, identifying and shifting past mindsets that might be holding you back without even realizing it, moving from a problem focus to an opportunity creation, and also how to leverage your strengths and focus on the future rather than fixing your weaknesses and being stuck in the past. So if any of those things sound interesting to you, please stay with us. So before we even dive in, let's talk about why this is important, right? So most of us are probably in a career or an entrepreneur or, running a team or an independent contributor. Most of us fall into one of those categories. And so 60% of organizations report difficulty in adapting to changing work environments, right? So this underscores the need for individuals and organizations to adopt a growth mindset and be open to change. Also, it's been seen that individuals who embrace a growth mindset are more likely to be successful in their careers as they're better able to adapt to changing work environments and develop new skills. Now, how important is that with the speed as to which AI, technology, and the world is just advancing? This is key right now. So adaptability is now one of the top skills that employers are even looking for in candidates, and really is the top skill that's going to support you in being successful, not just in your career, but in life, because things happen, shit goes wrong, right? And if, depending on how you look at it, you could flip that and say shit goes right, because I'm sure in every wrong there is a right. And so it's really about finding what that is and shifting your perspective and changing that lens. Because really our words shape our reality. The words we use to describe our experiences, they can shape our perception of reality. How amazing is that? The words we choose, just that alone is going to shape how we see a certain situation. If we label something as a challenge, as a problem, as something that we want to avoid, as negative, we're going to have that experience with it. If we look at the exact same thing from a different perspective and seek the opportunity in it, it instantly shifts our experience with that same scenario. So the same situation can be looked at multiple ways. We are the ones that assign meaning to it, good, bad, old, young. All of these things that we use to describe what's going on around us is what's going to shape our experience with it. That is why so often we can be having one experience and somebody else is having a completely different experience, right? How many of you have been in a situation where you're in an experience and all of a sudden somebody's upset with you or somebody's mad at the person next to you or screaming at this or completely throwing you off with their reaction to something. Or it could be the opposite, where you're in a rough place and they're excited about life, and you just got cut off in a car and they're like la 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 and you're all pissed. We can have different reaction and look at the same situation in multiple ways. So we're all having different experiences. And so this is really important because it gives you your power back. It gives you your power to really choose and be so careful and intentional with the words that you use and the mindsets that are really driving you. Obstacles and opportunities both exist at the same time in any given situation. The truth is, most things are neutral, and we're assigning meaning to it based on our mindset, based on our past experience with it, based on what we attach to that scenario. So I want you to reflect, whether you're driving in your car, you're walking your dog, whatever you're doing, just reflect. What are some things that have changed in the world recently? What are some things that maybe have changed in your organization or on your team recently? What are some changes that have taken place in your life? What are some major life-changing events that have occurred over the last year? And just think about that for a moment. What meaning have you assigned to these experiences, to these changes? Now, hopefully you can see that we assign meaning to situations that happen to us, even though they're just neutral events. But now what tends to happen is when you shift your perspective from something that might feel like an obstacle or a challenge, and you're closed-minded about it, you feel helpless, you're in victim mode, unmotivated, frustrated, reactive, all of these things, you're going to be very narrow-minded and very fixated on the problem and not able to see the opportunity and perspective that is available to you that you have when you shift your perspective. And so when you shift your perspective to really seeking the opportunity, this is what we call going into a growth mindset. You have the upper hand, you have the advantage there, and that's instantly going to change your experience. You're going to feel better. It'll shift. Just the way you look at the situation is going to shift how you experience and what you even feel in your body. We are in control of our emotions, our reactions. And so the goal here is to become more intentional about how we're reacting and being more resourceful, responsive, creative, open, excited, empowered to really move into that new energy of opportunity so that from there you can move forward, because the situation is neutral and you can either go into an obstacle and fixed mindset perspective, or you can go into opportunity and growth mindset. So what lens do you typically have on? Do you find yourself falling into either a fixed or growth mindset? Maybe you do find yourself going into a growth mindset often, and that is amazing. And I would just ask, is there an area of your life or a situation that you might find yourself going into a fixed mindset more often? And really, how can you take control over that? How can you take your power back? How can you use, all of the skills and all of the work that you've been doing to build growth mindset in other areas to that area that you are now struggling with? So we're all human, right? We are all human. It's not, this la 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 la, I'm always going to be in a growth mindset. We are going to encounter obstacles, and those are our opportunities and our cues to really switch focus. And so some obstacles to really being able to adapt and evolve is focusing on what's out of our control. When we focus on what's out of our control, it's so energy draining. There's nothing we can do about it. It's out of our control. The sooner we can accept that, the sooner we can shift to focusing on what's in our control and adapting, evolving, and really evolving and moving forward from there. Second is mindset, which we've talked a little bit about, and we'll continue to talk about that. Third is just being resistant or inflexible. Right? It's that moment when somebody says something and you feel that tightness in your body, and it's the resistance that comes up and you don't want to change, right? Get curious about that. What is it that's triggering you? Why don't you want to change? Why are you resistant? What are you scared of? Is it the unknown? Do you not want to change, right? What's really driving that? There's also fear that could come up, or a lack of vision. So maybe you don't know what the future is going to look like with this change, and you want to stay in the past. You want to hold on to that previous way of being or previous experience. And also limited resources. So if in the work environment and there's a change happening, you might either find that you're resistant or people on your team are resistant because they're fearful that there's not enough resources available to support them. So one thing that is so important when it comes to seeking out opportunities and growth mindset and really evolving and adapting and continuously evolving into that next version of ourselves is to focus on what's in our control. This is so vital and so important. And so really, anytime that you're encountering a challenge or something that's quote unquote an obstacle or a change, or there's some resistance that comes up, take a step back, take a breath, pause before reacting, because we always want to react, right? We're human. Take that pause and ask yourself, what is in my direct control in this experience? What is out of my control in this experience? Oftentimes you'll find that we're spending so much time and energy on focusing what's out of our control, like other people's behavior, other people's actions, other people's decisions, other people's emotions, and the list goes on, right? We're mad at it. We don't want people to change. We don't want this to change, right? But this is all out of our control. So again, focus on what's in your direct control and what you can influence. What's in your control is your experience, your emotions, your reaction, your response, the question you ask, how you show up, and really how you deal with anything that's coming your way. So what we want to do is really begin to expand our focus on what is in our control and start to eliminate the amount of time that we focus on what's out of our control. We want to accept what we cannot change and change what we can, right? So as you can see here, we're expanding what's in our control and what's in our influence. And when what's in our influence is really, we are going to influence situations by how we show up, right? How we show up is in our direct control. We are going to influence the results of ourselves that we get, and also influence the relationships around us and what's going on around us by how we show up, right? If we're angry, irritated, annoyed, resentful, telling people what to do, all of these things to try and change someone else or change a situation that we don't have control over, our influence is actually going to get smaller because nobody's going to want to take us seriously. But if we're showing up curious, if we're showing up open, if we're showing up with a fresh mindset and really open to what's going to come, and our presence is intentional and our energy is intentional, then we're going to naturally influence our results and what's around us. And that is going to minimize the amount of time that we spend on what is out of our control. So think of a situation, right? What is out of your control? How can you spend less time there and more time on what's in your direct control? And how might that influence everything else around you, including yourself and including how you feel? So spend your time on expanding your circle of control, because change is inevitable and growth is optional. If we resist change, if we, show up pissed off and angry all the time, we're not going to grow. We're not going to influence people around us either. And therefore, our results are going to be directly aligned with that. And so really at the core of all of this is your mindset. So it's important to understand that our mindset and thoughts drive our actions, which lead to our results. So we typically see our results and we look at that as our indicator of, I'm either getting the results I want or I'm not getting the results I want. So in any situation that you are not getting the results that you want, trace it back to the actions. What actions are you doing that's getting you those results? And what mindset is driving those actions? Because ultimately, the mindset is really what is driving your results. And how you grow is going to be determined by the mindsets you have. And so, like I said, if you're coming from a fixed mindset, challenges, things are hard, victim mentality, then ultimately you're likely not going to get the results that you want. So old mindsets may have served you in the past, but they will no longer serve you in the future. Let me give you an example of this, because I think typically when we hear people talk about mindsets, we think of a negative event occurring and we need to be more positive and seek the opportunity. And that's a really great way to understand how mindset influences your results. But I want to give you an example that is seemingly a positive change, right? Because we typically think of change as negative and we need to adjust to it. And our mindset drives how we adjust to it and what our results are like. But change can also be positive or something that we would typically view as positive. So an example of that is if you get promoted and you went from an independent contributor to now having a team, if your past mindset, an old mindset, old belief was, I have to do everything on my own to get ahead, to be successful, and to get things done and ultimately succeed, and your results were positive from that, and that led to your promotion, is that old mindset of I need to do it all on my own, I need to do this to get results, I'm the only one that can do it, is that old mindset going to serve your new reality of this promotion, of now having a team, of now having support? Ultimately not. So what happens is we change, we evolve, we're in situations that maybe old mindsets have helped us get there, but they're not going to help you be successful and get to the next level. So we want to use old mindsets and behaviors to shape the future, not to hold you back and not to hold you stuck in a previous version of yourself. Because if that mindset comes with you into that new role, you're going to micromanage. You're not even going to want to delegate properly. You're going to have a hard time letting people help you. And ultimately, you're not going to be successful as a leader because you're not actually going to be able to use your team and able to trust and able to know that the old mindset of I have to do it all on my own is no longer true in this scenario. It may not have even been true before, but it's really not going to serve you now. And so what mindset needs to change to support you in this next version of yourself and in this next opportunity? So what I want you to do, right, as we begin to wrap this up, is pick a situation, pick a change. Remember, neutral event that we assign meaning to. Think about an area where you're not getting the results that you want. Now, think about what results you really do want. What do you want to drive? What results do you want to be seeing over the next couple of weeks or over the next month? Now, what mindsets might be holding you back from adapting and are thriving in this situation or this change? What might be actually driving the results that you're not getting or that you don't want? What actions are you doing? And then really, what results is this bringing? So think about what are the results that you want and what mindsets might be holding you back from adapting or thriving and really achieving those results. Next, list out mindsets that are more aligned with the results that you want. So take the mindset that's not serving you, list the new mindset that's really going to support you in evolving into this next iteration of yourself, into propelling forward into this new future vision of the results that you want. List out the mindsets that are in alignment with those results. And now what actions are in aligned with that mindset? Which actions come about or bloom from that mindset? And what results is that going to bring you? Because that will bring you full circle to the results that you actually want to see. But first, you need to figure out what is really holding you back. What mindset is keeping you in a past version of yourself? Which mindset is no longer serving this version or a future version of yourself? All right. I hope that was helpful, and we will see you in a couple of weeks. Let us know what you want more of in the future, and we'll see you soon. Like what you heard and want more? Stay connected with our community on social media using the links below. Like us on your favorite podcast provider and sign up for the Conscious Loop newsletter, where we only send you goodies with one intent: to break your unconscious loops. If you have an unconscious loop you want to break free from, let us know so we can feature that loop on the show. Info and show notes, and we'll see you next time in the Conscious Loop.